No, guys, the teams have not disbanded. Welcome to the International 3. The preliminary rounds are now underway. It's Navi versus Fnatic, your first of 6 best of 2s on this stream. I'm LD.
I'm Luminous.
And we're ready for game number 1. It's going to be a best of 2 format. I say best of 2. Basically, they play 2 games. You can either 2-0 your opponent, you can 1-1, or you can 0-2. So every game matters here. Even if you just eke out a game but don't take the series, that still makes a difference. It affects whether or not you advance. With that being said, the draft is underway. Let's get into it. Navi versus Fnatic. We'll start off with a European showdown. Our next match will be IG versus Rattlesnake. So we'll bounce to a completely different style of Dota after that. But for now, it's all about Navi versus Fnatic.
Well, first pick on Fnatic's side, you said Navi forced to ban out both Batrider and Wisp. We're going to see this throughout basically every single Western versus Western matchup. The team with the first pick will leave those heroes in the pool on purpose. And obviously, the team on the other side is forced to ban out those heroes, unless they have some specific strategy prepared for that.
It leaves Fnatic with the first pick here. Now, I believe the team should swap sides as well as who gets first pick for game 2. So both teams get their shot at first pick. Both teams get their shot at each side. So it's a completely symmetrical and fair format, or at least it should be. But Fnatic, what do they go for here?
Well,
there's Alchemist in the pool.
They go with the Lifestealer. That's definitely their most picked hero, but Navi right now definitely can go into both DK and Alchemist. Alchemist is a hero that could get so much farm so quickly, and once you get a Basher, Lifestealer is not even a worry anymore. But Navi doesn't always run the Alchemist as a 1-row. Sometimes they run it as a 4 support, played by Puppy, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the thing is, if you do go for Alch DK, Fnatic may try to respond by going aggressive. So maybe we see something like a Visage pick come out second, and that would give them a very challenging tri-lane. I'm sure Navi's fine with that, but if Fnatic see an Alch, I feel they have to go aggressive. They cannot trade farm with Vos Alch. If they do, I feel like they have a 5% chance of winning.
Well, I mean, again, if you see an Alch, you can't just say 90% of the time or 100% of the time is the farming Alch. It just could be a support thing, and that's only...
that's true.
They ran Venomancer Alch, so like you can't actually even...
I think you still go with the standard play. Sure, okay. They did something crazy and creative in an online match. These are the prelims.
Sure.
Let Navi prove you wrong, I guess.
You have the best strat to go against possibly their best strat.
Because the thing is, if you start worrying about that stuff too much, like, oh, they're going to run a farming Venomancer, they're going to run a Mirana at the H, if you worry about that too much and don't just play your game, give your opponents kind of the benefit of the doubt that they'll play somewhat standard some of the time, unless the picks are crazy, then you'll go crazy before you even get into the game.
Right. So we'll see. Nature's Prophet is going to be the first hero selected. Still no Alchemist just yet. I do believe that Nature's Prophet is one of Navi's more important hero, especially on the dire side. Fnatic, we don't see Navi split pushing too much, and to be honest, I think they're a little. If I were to say there's one weakness in Navi's playstyle, it's the fact that they don't have a very good split pushing game compared to the other Western team. And I feel like Prophet is one of the easiest hero to say, all right, nothing's going on, let's get some split push, or let's get some farm. He's a hero that's mobile enough to pick up that kind of extra advantages.
And it also denies it to Trixie. And we have seen, I mean, we saw this combo really come into prominence a couple of months ago. Prophet and Lifestealer. Pretty strong ganking combo, even though Prophet doesn't really have much lockdown. You just infest with the Lifestealer, you jump a support, easy kill. And then you get out. Navi, though, they had their chance at the Alch. They go for Gyro. He's got the cooldown slow that does go through Raid, so he's not a horrible hero against Lifestealer. And we actually saw yesterday that if you have enough stuff that goes through BKB, even if it's not too much hard lockdown, like just the Beastmaster Roar slow, the cooldown slow, if you stack up enough of those, a melee hero that doesn't actually, even with magic immunity, might not be able to get a range and fight.
I think Lifestealer is probably the most mobile of most melee carries because of things like Rage could debuff a lot of stuff. He always goes things like Phase, Armlet Drum, so that build in itself already has a lot of mobility. And by infesting into a creep, you could debuff a lot of slows in itself. So I think Lifestealer is okay most of the time, but still, he's a melee carry, and you could kite him around with things like Ground Sprout, call down slow, and the things that you mentioned.
So you know what I find really interesting about this draft is both teams took a pass on the solo mids. We didn't see an OD, we didn't see a Puck, we didn't see the Storm or the Quap. None of those strong solo mids, and that's something for Fnatic. A lot of their gameplay is about Hani's solo mids. Does he have a good start? Does he get that powerful snowball hero? Can he win his lane? And for Navi, of course, you look at Dendi, you want to see the Quap, the OD, these heroes that he can just crush the lane on.
Or
but they both take a pass.
Yeah, well, we'll see exactly what it's going to be about. Lich being banned out here against Fnatic. So we saw it was Quantic that used Lich yesterday. I haven't really seen too much Lich from Fnatic. Is this a recent scrim thing we have to question, or have they been showing it in some recent matches?
I They might have run it once in the Corsair Summer Tour. We saw Lich yesterday as well.
Right.
So is it specifically Fnatic, or is Lich just coming back?
I
I'm
mean,
not sure. I haven't seen too much Fnatic Lich. I think they've run it a handful of times, but it's not like a signature hero. I don't think it's a signature hero for anyone. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is about. I mean, it was all the rage back in when Dota 2 first came out. I think we were casting TP out 2 ages ago, and it was Lich first all the time, right? It was Lich and Tidehunter because these are heroes that would big AoE ultimate. And to be honest, he's not too bad in the long lane, but we're not going to see it in this particular game.
Rip in peace, Daily Motion.
Yeah.
They're still going.
Wow.
Man, they had porn links on the sidebar for those games. Oh my god.
Let's not talk about those days.
Bad, dark days for Dota. Dark
Yeah.
days for Dota commentaries as well.
But
Here we go. So Puck banned out by Fnatic. Navi have not taken a traditional Dendi hero mid, so they get banned.
yeah, they're actually going to ban out the Quap as well. I mean, this is actually setting up, if Navi wants to pick it, they could actually go into a Pudge pick. Because a lot of the heroes that are really traditionally good against Pudge in the mid lane are already banned out. The Quap, the Puck, the OD, so...
It's possible.
Maybe.
Lifestealer does quite well 1v1 against
Sure,
Pudge,
that's
though.
definitely the case.
You can just right-click him.
Yeah.
And there's not much you can do. If you get the rage off at the right time, the rot's not going to damage you anyway. So, I don't... If they want to run Pudge, they would need to safe lane it, I think.
Every time I see a Navi game, I'm like, all right, they're working for a Pudge, because I think that's what people want to see as well.
They still don't have a Dendi hero, so until they pick one up, there's always the threat of the Pudge. I don't know how much that scares Fnatic, but we'll see. Dragon Knight now picked up by them, so they get the solo mid that's... to be honest, there's not many solo mids left that we've sort of seen a lot lately. There is the Storm for Navi. They already have Prophet. They can be a strong duo, but when you see this Dragon Knight pick, that's something, if you want to run a slightly weaker solo mid, you can get away with
You
it.
can get away with it, yeah. I mean...
Is there anyone that jumps out to you?
Well, Puppy always favors picking Magnus for Dendi.
Dendi hates it. You could just tell.
I hate it too when he plays Magnus.
Everyone hates it. I mean, not even when he has a good Magnus game. Come on, give Dendi Pudge. Give Dendi something exciting.
Well, the thing is,
Puppy, please.
Pudge does not match well against Dragon Knight. He does not match well against Lifestealer. So, because even if you hook them, they have instant stuns or instant ways to kind of like get away. So it's just not a good pick in my opinion.
They could always safe lane that hero and run, say, a Funnick mid gyro or something. Or not Funnick, Havos.
Havos mid, yeah. And they have done that multiple times in the past. I think Stormster should have an easy pass this game laning against DK if they just worry about the lanes. If you want to go a little bit more kind of outside of standard heroes, Windrunner would do quite okay in this game. Run a solo mid. We've seen teams like Orange for Mushi did it, and I think Navi in the past have done it as well. But Dendi's a hero, or Dendi is a player that could play so many versatile heroes. Hey, I just want to see a return of Invoker if they could somehow work it in the draft.
Oh, man. I miss Invoker. There was an amazing showcase. I think it was one of the most upvoted videos. Well, not one of the most, but one of the higher upvoted videos on Reddit of 430 playing one in CDEC, which is like their equivalent of XDL. It's an in-house league in China. Oh,
It's
man.
actually...
I miss my Invoker.
Yeah.
I miss it bad after seeing that. And Dendi has a magnificent one. But they now go for the Alchemist, so it looks like possibly a Dendi Gyro mid, and then an Alch in the trial. It could be that support Alch that you mentioned, though, for Puppy.
I think it is a support Alch, predominantly because they want a support hero that can defend towers quite well. Because if you look at the pushing power of Fnatic, DK on the front line, all the Chen creeps, and possibly the threat of Lifestealer just running at you, or Dragon Knight running at you and stunning you, that's very hard to actually deal against. And Acid Spray is a spell that can slow the push down, make Flat Cannon a lot more effective against the creeps, as well as Bane Elemental, all of these kind of weak support heroes.
Yeah, I actually, the more you talk about it, the more it does seem like a support Alch. And the other thing is that Visage and Alch are a very scary combo. You get the early medallion on either of those heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Combine that with Acid Spray. Navi are on the dire side as well, so now Fnatic have constant concern about Roshan attempts. So even if they don't go for it, Navi always have the threat of that in mind. Fnatic are going to have to devote Chen creeps to it. They'll have to devote maybe the Lifestealer walking into check occasionally. So this threat in itself is powerful for Navi.
But you know, it's not 100% that we're going to see a support Alch. It's just that this team is more known to run a support Alch than other teams.
I think if you're Fnatic, you expect it, but like you said, you never know for sure. And the last ban will
Timbersaw.
be a Timbersaw. Oh boy. Well, I would get more excited if it was picked. But we have seen this hero on the rise lately. I think most notably, Arteezy and S4 have been running Timbersaw mid.
Timbersaw
Haven't seen Navi do it yet.
shreds DK mid.
They may have done it. I just haven't seen it anyway. But yeah, that's not a good matchup for DK.
Yeah, for those who are wondering at home why is such an unfavorable matchup, is that Whirling Death, I think that's the spell is called, his Q.
Whirling Blade, I believe.
Whirling
Or is
Blade?
it, oh,
Whirling-
either way.
Whirling
Yeah,
something.
we
Yeah.
know the one that you mean.
Yeah, the one he spins and chop down trees. But it actually takes away your base stats, and there's a Magnus for Dendi. It takes
Okay.
away your base stats for whoever he's hitting. So against the DK, you're shredding his HP as well as damage output. And to be honest, DK's not a hero that has high damage on the mid lane, so you could kind of outlane him basically by doing that.
Man, Navi's draft looks really scary right now. If they're in decent shape after the laning stage, they have everything. Great split push, easy access to blow up Roshan, fantastic late game, a support that scales well in the Visage, the minus armor combo, and you have RP.
And you have Dendi Magnus.
And you have Dendi Magnus. But I think this game, you mentioned the counter push, and I think that's a really important point, is Visage doesn't have much counter push. Gyro and Prophet have decent once they get level 6, but Magnus gives you a lot of AoE early. So they have plenty of heroes to defend the push. They've got more lockdown to deal with the lifesteal and the DK. And honestly, I mean, if they just blow an RP on one of these heroes, and either the Gyro or Alk is farmed, that hero can go toe-to-toe with a Lifestealer or a Dragon Knight. So I feel like there's not that much pressure on Dendi to hit a 3 or 4 hero RP this game. I think for the most part, 1 or 2 hero RPs will do.
I think that's exactly the case. Also, this lineup gives Na'Vi a lot of power to go late if the early game doesn't pan out that well, because we definitely seen Puppey in the past transition from a support alchemist to a carry alchemist, and probably one of the best way to kind of catch up is to have Empower on your melee heroes, and he's going to have that. So Magnus, let's not forget that even though his RP is nerfed, his Empower is a great accelerator for farmers like Gyrocopter, Alchemist if he wants to be one, and then Nature's Prophet. So I feel that Na'Vi has basically every stage of the draft. They're not winning kind of heavily in every stage, but they're doing okay in most of them.
And if it goes late, I mean, it's going to be tough for Fnatic here.
Right.
Clockwork, interesting pickup from Fnatic, because the cogs no longer affect heroes that are BKB'd or magic immune, which is a big deal, because Havost is likely to go for BKB. If Funnick, if it goes late enough, he'll pick one up. Dendi, they have 4 heroes that could go BKB. So this Clockwork, all about the early to mid game aggression for me. It's not going to scale well into the late game. A lot of pressure on Fnatic here in the first 10 minutes, I would say.
Well, this is game 1 between Fnatic versus Na'Vi, and Fnatic will be playing on the Radiant side. We have Fly playing the support Bane Elemental. Hani's going to be going mid on that Dragon Knight. No-Tell playing the Chen. Support so far, and obviously support always. Trixie is going to be playing the Clockwork, and last but not least, we're going to see Era playing the One Row Lifestealer.
And on the dire side, you've got Team Na'Vi, Dendiman on the Magnus, Kuroki taking up the role of the Visage. No Rubik for him this time around. Support Puppey on the Alchemist, no surprises there. Funnick as your Nature's Prophet. Early clarity's pulled to him, so they're prioritizing the Midas Rush, and now Havost, he is going to be playing that carry Gyrocopter. So Na'Vi aggressively moving through the river. They'll go straight up the hill. Fnatic, not a particularly devastating level 1 lineup, and Na'Vi feeling very confident with that Visage. They'll walk directly up 2 hills, Trance leading the way to scout things out, and they'll now secure Fnatic's jungle a bit. We'll probably see some Observer Wards or Sentries go down. Puppey making a deep move. He has no fear here.
He's warding this particular camp right now, and
This Chen's going to have a slow start.
yeah, I mean, that's... Well, let's see if these guys have Sentry Wards on the Chen. He does, and let's see how many he will scope out. Also, a very interesting item choice about Fnatic I want to point out is that Lifestealer has a Ring of Protection. This is
Basilius?
Vlad's perhaps later on in the game, or you go Tranquil Boots. It's just that all of these item extension from a Ring of Protection is not something that Lifestealer needs, right?
I think it might be that early reign of Basilius, just so that you can push the tower early, because you get to the mid game, and I don't think you'll be able to push against Na'Vi.
Right, but Lifestealer at the same time is also a hero that could get his items fairly quickly. He maxes out on slots very quickly. So I'm just... This is something that I haven't seen too often, but at the same time, Fnatic is also a team that they are a little bit of rebel in terms of like standard item choices. They like to do a little bit different. We talked about the Bucha Travel as a heavy part of their big early game investment, but we'll see how Era kind of skill his hero and item choices.
So our mid lane, it'll be a pretty straight up 1v1. Both heroes should farm. Probably nobody dies unless someone feeds or just gets caught out. The off lane for Clockwork, looking at this tri lane, this is going to be tough for Clock to even get in the lane. Trixie already being zoned out. I don't know what he'll be able to do here. And then you look at Na'Vi, they've just abandoned the off lane. So this is a bit of a concern for me. If this Clockwork can't get too much, he is cogging the creeps now to pull the waves back, but just looking at the off-lane trades, I feel like Na'Vi, they have the much more reliable off-lane. No matter what, your Prophet gets something, whereas your Clockwork may or may not, and he might end up dying quite a lot here.
Yeah, normally as we have the more recent style having Prophet play, as we see Harpy Stormcaller, Stormcrafter is now zapping away Dendi in the mid lane. Normally this playstyle of Prophet is, sending Treants into the jungle, preventing the pulls and whatever else. But because there's a Chen jungling anyways, you could kind of rarely stop that as a Prophet. Sometimes it's just better to farm yourself, and also it helps that you have warded some part of the jungle, like over here, and Chen is being slowed down somewhat.
Yeah, and I just want to point out how much emphasis they're putting on slowing Dendi down. They enfeebled him, they rotated the Bane mid for that, and now they're just zapping away at him. So they're devoting, I'd say, 1.5 supports to this early laning stage, and just from a minute or so of harassment, all of a sudden, Hani, 11-1, bottle online for him. Dendi just now getting his on the courier, and he's sending it back for an initial round of bottle crawling, but so far mid lane looking pretty good for Fnatic. Lifestealer farming freely in the safe lane. For me, I think it's just all about this Chen's early movements, though. Because you look at a DK mid, probably not a hero that's going to go around the map and kill everything. Your Lifestealer bottom lane isn't going to push or put a lot of pressure there. So for me, with Clockwork not getting too much out of the off lane, it puts all the emphasis on the early game onto No-Tail's Chen. What is he going to do? Yeah,
well, so far he's definitely playing a lot more utility. He's not farming. He's only level 1. He's got that Heartbeat Stormcaller, so he's harassing Dendi on the mid lane. He's only, again, he's not really power farming as a Chen.
No, he's out of mana now. He's got one more zap, but then he's able to bottle up. Just complete pain in the ass here. Puppey even channeling a stun. He'll come into the mid lane. He'll end up stunning himself. That's 2 self-stuns for Puppey. Just can't seem to get in range of Fnatic.
But I actually think that Fnatic's winning the laning stage right now. I mean, sure, you talked about Clockwork not getting too much early, but I feel like Dendi's perhaps a more important player and hero in this particular game. And, well, he does have his bottle and boots of speed, but the constant harassment from that Stormcrafter is just really annoying.
But here comes Lavos, zoning Trixie out of the lane. Early Rocket Barrage brings him down low. Of course, you look at Trixie's got a lot of regen. Puppey, now making his 3rd move of the game. He went for that first initial gank top, then he goes for the gank mid, and now he's going to try and backstab Trixie. The barrage is in. Havosta's diving Trixie under the tower. Typical Havost. He wants this first blood. Is he going to find it? Forces it, and yes, he will. Great early aggression here from Na'Vi, and it's what we talked about with the Clockwork. It's very hard for him not to die against that tri-lane.
Yeah, once Havost picks up boost, you just have to play the lane a little bit more differently. If you don't match his movement speed, there's no way you can even get near 500-600 range, because Havost literally just walked up, turned on Rocket Barrage, and just chased, and that was like for killed. Nice juke attempt by Trixie, but he didn't have progs, and that's why the dive was
And they're going
possible.
in again. They grave chill him up. Havost's going to drive him off the lane. Thing is, I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard not to get caught there, though, because Gyrocopter has above average move speed, and Havost played it perfectly. Turns on the Reign of Basilius, auto-attacks to push the lane with Flat Cannon as much as possible, and then dies with the Flat Cannon.
Right.
Meanwhile, though, mid lane, Dendi's found a skewer on Hani, pushes him back into the tower. Not going to find a kill, but some simple harassment from him, and despite all that early aggression, it's a mag mid, and if you're on a DK against him, and you play the mag well, Dendi gets his farm. So Dendi's still doing well mid. I don't think he's really been shut down much, and they got the first blood. Things looking quite good. And on the side of Fnatic, they've gone for an early smoke gank bottom, but I'm not sure if we'll actually see Funnick defend this tower.
Yeah, I mean, normally you expect a rotation from the enemy team to defend this particular tier 1. We saw, I think, Quantic doing that yesterday and got picked off by a very similar smoke gank from Rattlesnake. And I think, I mean, if you're Fnatic, if nobody comes to defend this, you're okay with it, right? Because you're getting a ton of early game goal from that tier 1 tower. So Glyph is going to get forced out. Still 0 rotation being made from Na'Vi. Na'Vi's just straight up sacking a tower, which is something that we don't see too often from him.
By the way, it was the Reign of Basilius for Arrow. So they want to push this tower early before the Prophet gets level 6, before the Magnus is too many levels. Because when it gets to that point in the mid game, you can have all the Chen creeps you want. They're just going to get nuked down. So it's an interesting choice from Aaron. It shows that Fnatic think they need these towers now. They probably don't get them later. They'll go for a tier 2. Most likely just want to force a Prophet teleport reaction. But honestly, it's a Lifestealer and a level 2 Chen. They're not going to be able to do too much to this tower.
They could dive him right now. I'm surprised that they're not making a go. Because Face Boot with open wounds, I mean, you can just get close, and that should be the kill. And Era's running right, and Puppey needs to get out, being zoned away from tower, but doing a very good job of pulling those creeps away from the tower.
No-Tail almost dying to the tower. He was 1 hit from death, ticking low to the acid spray. Honestly, was that worth it? You drive an Alk back to the base, but you've spent 3 heroes. No-Tail still level 2 at 5.5 minutes. He's looking a little bit under level to me. And then the Clockwork only level 4, which is okay, but he's given up some kills. He only has boots right now. I think Navi's actually in fantastic position.
I think losing a tower helps the Fnatic support a little bit, because you got to keep in mind that they were helping out Hani in the mid lane, so they're lost out on a little bit of gold intake, and having that tower taken down helps them quite a bit. Era also got the last of the tower, so he's well on his way on Spracer and probably Drum build. So I think it's not a bad exchange for either team, but now you can see that Puppey's found himself almost level 4, and this hero just wants to level as much as possible.
So Fnatic, if we look at their mid game, we talked about how Na'Vi have the better split push, the better team fight, most likely. So it's on Fnatic to find pickoffs and just spread the map out. For me, the only hero who can really do that is, I mentioned the Chen, but now it's starting to become Trixie as your offlaner. And it's an underlevel Clockwork, there's no hookshot. Thing is, who else actually starts the fights? Hani maybe with Dragon Tail, but no Shadow Blade for him. He doesn't have great initiation. And that's the one issue I have for Fnatic right now, is they need a lot of aggression out of that Clockwork. He's got to be their initiator. Sure, Lifesteal can try and run in, but there's always the threat of an RP counter gank. There's always the threat of a Gyrocopter counter gank. Rage isn't going to last forever. And for me, it's all about the Clockwork, and I'm just not sure what Trixie can get done here. I still think there's a lot of pressure on Fnatic, and Na'Vi can just sit back.
RP's gonna drop on the mid lane, and we're gonna see a skewer backwards under the towers, and Puppey's gonna land a stun. A teleportation is gonna come in from Hiroki, and that's gonna be a kill. What a well-executed gank. You just don't expect RP out of nowhere on the mid lane like that, and Dendi just jams one in. So
generally, when you know RP's down, that's the time where you want to go for some sort of team fight, if you ever would. Problem is, No Tail's level 3, only 1 creep for him. Era, level 7, sure, but Lifestealer not the best pusher, so they use the RP, and there's nothing that Fnatic can do about it. Really smart play from Na'Vi.
yeah, I mean, those first 1 or 2 RP are basically free rolls in a sense, because generally team fights is not going to start so early in the game, so you could drop those ones, and then he did that. He also TP'd the bot lane and basically defended that tier 2 from being pushed down by Era. I feel like Era, he's getting a ton of farm, and he needs to actually use his farm to do something
to fight.
Yeah,
he
exciting.
Needs to fight.
And he's getting drums, which is an item that I think will be perfect this game.
Yeah, I think this is the build you have to go for. I don't think you can go for your Treads Armlets, more of your late game build, or a Midas like we see Black sometimes go for. They need him involved early. They are trying to go on Havos top lane. The net has been sprung. Can they actually get in range here? Dragon Tail to start? No, now it comes through. Havos in trouble, but the low ground to high ground stun from Puppey. Havos dropping the call down, still running. Does get caught, so they invest 2 for that kill. Now at the rune, Fly already Kuroki's level 6, and he's going to work here. 2 familiars up, Prophet ult coming through, and a skewer from Dendi. The drive-by, honestly, he should be KSing that, because that means the Blink Dagger's coming soon.
Why not? I mean, quick Arcanes into quick Blink. He's already halfway there, back in the mid-tier 1 tower in big trouble, as these familiars are now sieging onto it. Rocket comes here from Trixie to slow this one down. Dendi also have a double damage, and I was very sure that he would have popped in and tried to siege that tier 1 tower, but we'll save it for another rainy day.
So while that's happening, still no involvement from Era. It's only 9 minutes in, but I really feel like every time RP's down, Fnatic have to say, all right, gut check time, let's go fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think when Era makes that TP, he wants to get at least 1 or 2 kills and perhaps transition into a tier 1 tower push. And to be honest, I think Lifestealer is really powerful at kind of stemming his team into fighting as well, because drums make them move quicker. You can't focus. You can turn around and reverse, for example, because Era's on the front line. He's very tanky. He has rage. So he's looking for that 1 TP that Na'Vi overcommits, and Na'Vi is